I'm finishing recording, and I went to the FBI, and this is recording number 2 to my just previous recording. And so I went to the FBI and again was working with the Department of Defense and Senator John McCain and Tom McCannon, who was the point of contact for Senator John McCain in Phoenix, because I was from Arizona 20 years, resided in Arizona for 22 years. And so I moved to Huntsville, Alabama, and lo and behold, I was put on a no-hire list. And Boeing's ass, every time I'd fill out the applications for Boeing, and they had a database system, it would kick it back and say I was an illegal immigrant, and I didn't have rights to work in the United States of America. They put that in their database system. So when I would apply for a job, it would kick it back saying I wasn't here legally to work in the United States. They did that to me. Then what they did is they had informed everybody and probably threatened people because, in my level of expertise, it's so highly technical and it's so specialized that most of the jobs are high-level positions, GS 14s and above, which I was rated as 14, and with my level of expertise in Senior Executive Service College, I would have been a 15 without any hesitation. And 15 is the highest, with the exception of an SES, and I was trying to become an SES at the time. I wanted to be an SES. And so I was in the Senior Executive Service College in advance, because they were paying me a 13, and I was rated as a 14, but they weren't paying me that as a woman, but they were paying the freaking ass men that. And I was in a college for GS 15 and above, SES, completed 9 months of it, Senior Executive College. But what they did is they put me on a no-hire list. And so every time I'd apply for a job, they controlled the job applications at the headquarters in which I worked. And the headquarters would write down there I wasn't qualified. So they wouldn't forward my application to the people that were hiring. On jobs that were much less technical and much less expertise required. Not even level 2 certifications, some of them. And I was level 3 certified. Senior Executive Service College, 3 college degrees, and 20 years of expertise. But they were sending me requisitions to put my knowledge in the freaking ass job applications they were bidding for the freaking ass government, and then giving it to somebody else with my expertise. But yet they were putting my application saying I wasn't qualified, and not forwarding my application, but taking all my knowledge. The government was doing that. The Army was. And the government. And Department of Defense. So in Huntsville, Alabama, I was very naive to think that I was going to get right back into a job. And I did have my SF-50. So when you apply for a job at a high-level position, you have to prove that you've been sitting either at that capacity or at least a year in a lower capacity that would qualify you for the next grade level. And that's what that SF-50 gave me. Verification. Documentation that I was at a high-level position, at a headquarters, and my pay. So when I would negotiate pay, I was qualified in the private sector at $150,000 per year. Maybe $160,000 to $170,000. Even more than that, because I got offered $135,000 in 1995. $135,000 or $130,000 to work for the private sector in 1995, and here it was 2008. I was qualified in the private sector. I'm going to say about $160,000 to $200,000 per year, and at the lowest end, $130,000 per year. In the private sector, in government sector, they do whatever the hell they want. They pay people what they want, and they don't pay people what they want. They do whatever the hell they want in the government. But I had this documentation that said $93,000 per year, operations research analyst. An operations research analyst is in a professional field, science and engineering at the highest level. Next to program manager, in which I was certified level 3 in program management. And expertise working 4 years at the headquarters that qualified me, and managed programs as a lead 4 major defense acquisitions programs with high visibility, meaning generals 1-star, 2 stars, 3 stars had access to my programs and monitored that through the Pentagon, through freaking ass White House for budget and high visibility. ACAT 3 programs. So, here I was in Huntsville, Alabama, homeless. And still fighting for my job, my rights. These freaking assholes removed me from my career field to freaking ass promote 2 freaking ass brothers. It took 2 asses to do 1 ass's job, mine. Because their asses weren't qualified. Getting off the topic. So in Huntsville, Alabama, I'm still fighting for my rights, and I thought, well, I'm going to make the best of it. I'm going to figure out how to just try to survive along the path of my fight. And so I coached. I was a coach for years, and I was a vice president of city leagues. And my responsibility as a vice president for city leagues in sports was to ensure that the freaking ass coaches didn't stack up their teams so that when they played during the season, it wouldn't be unfair where you'd have kids that never played the sport and a freaking ass other team that was packed with kids that played their whole freaking ass life. And then it would make the teams unfair when they played during the season. And also to ensure that everybody had the right amount of time, that, he's supposed to play at least a quarter. They're supposed to play at least a quarter. You can't sit a kid on the bench for freaking ass whole game and just use 2 players to play the whole freaking ass game. I mean, it was just that kind of stuff as a vice president for sports. And I also coached to teach my freaking ass son good sportsmanship. And so I began coaching in Huntsville, Alabama. I thought, they were saying they needed coaches. We lived 2 minutes from the freaking ass baseball field. And so I said, okay, maybe I can start coaching, get my mind off this bullshit of EEO shit. I'm going to start coaching. And so I did. And then the harassment began again, trying to stage bullshit. Not while I was coaching. And out of the 5 games that I coached, I won all 5 games. My team did. 5 out of 5 games. Consecutive wins. No losses. Under my coaching. And then they would test me. Can you please tell us how our daughter did play-by-play? So here I'd freaking ask, write their freaking ass play-by-play, and how many errors and how many runs and how many strikes and all that bullshit when you coach baseball. And so I'd send it to him very detailed, and she was shocked. This is the best freaking ass breakdown of my daughter's game I've ever received. I'm a coach. And I played freaking ass baseball in Aberdeen, Maryland. So, I was trying to get my life back together and applying for jobs, very naive. Very naive. And somebody somewhere didn't like the fact, hey man, she's coaching and her freaking ass team is winning. She hasn't lost a game. And I didn't lose a game. And we would have won all the way to city leagues if I'd have stayed. But they were starting harassment, and I thought I need to get back focused on this EEO. I'm not getting hired. They're putting whistleblower shit all over the place. They put me on a no-hire list. They're staging police officers to follow me and start harassing me. And on and on and on and on. So I regained focus on my EEO. And so I still wasn't hired with anyone. And then they harassed me. And during the time that I filed an EEO complaint, a helicopter would follow me wherever I went. They would have a helicopter following me. And I thought, that can't be possible. And so I'd get off an exit and go to different places, and sure enough, here's coming that helicopter. And I think this stopped.